So welcome everyone to episode 5 of Let's Be Direct, the podcast of all things direct mail from DirectWorks. Today we're going to be talking about a really exciting new product and buzz in the industry called Programmatic direct mail. And we have with us a couple of special guests. Well, first of all, I think most of you know Lane Gobil, who's our product and development manager for this product and others as well. And we have president of Goose Digital, Mike Trixani, joining us
Hello.
as well. Welcome, guys.
Mike. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Moving from here, probably the best thing to do is to talk a little bit about what is programmatic direct mail. And I'm going to pass the baton over to Lane, as he was one of the major forces at DirectWorks in terms of getting this onto our platform and integrating it with our systems, and has had a lot of contact and use case scenario exposure. Lane?
Thanks, Dan. So, so as an overview of programmatic direct mail. So what programmatic direct mail is basically finding different data triggers. So finding people in a particular part of a marketing journey where they're showing some sort of sign of trigger where they're about to make a purchase decision, or potentially came up to a milestone, or there's something that we can collect regarding data that is going to flag us as identifying that consumer, that individual is ready for some sort of marketing offer and insight. So what we're doing is we're connecting into various CRMs. We're looking at data sources, for example, like weather data. We're looking at geolocation data. We're looking at a number of different data sets and grabbing triggers from those data sets and using workflow automations to refine that data to help identify your ideal target within those data sets. So not only looking for people with the ideal trigger for a purchase flag, we're also looking to refine those people further to identify within that data who exactly matches your ideal target. So in our workflow processes, what we'll do is we'll overlay things like geography. So we'll look at your primary marketing area and ensure that we're not targeting someone that's outside of that area. We'll look at demographic data and overlap demographic data, ensure that the people that have shown these flags are defined within your demographics. We'll look at different triggers within that data to target people based on potentially interest flags in the data, so we can make the offer more personalized. We'll look at your existing customer database and overlay that as well at an address level. So, if you're looking for acquisition, we don't want to target your existing customers. We'll be able to suppress them as part of the process. But basically, it's about taking that data trigger, overlaying the other data filters to filter it down to your ideal customer, and then making it really, really specific and personalized for that individual that's getting that direct mail piece.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've zeroed in on is it's three things. It is classic marketing in a lot of ways. I mean, You're not doing anything that's incredibly different, but we're doing it differently in terms that it's at the right time. It's a very small, very pointed target that we're going after, very refined and focused. And so the way we're doing this is it's more of a drip campaign. So we're receiving daily feeds of information from various other platforms, and within 24 hours we're into the post office, and then it's delivered out to the individual. So it's the right. What did we say in our video? It's the right audience, the right offer at the perfect time.
I think that's so interesting. Like, one of the things that when I think of the direct mail business, it just seems like it's legacy, right? It's like old school.
Right.
And then, like you mentioned, drip campaigns. And I think that's a good way to think about the programmatic stuff that you're doing. It's sort of like revitalizing this legacy industry using data, using the smarts. I think a lot of people think of direct mail as just like casting a super wide net, and there's not a lot you can do from a technology perspective in there. And this is like, you guys are already doing some stuff that is light years beyond what most people do in direct mail, but then this is like layering on sort of like even on top of that, a lot of intelligence, a lot of data, a lot of sophistication to sort of target based on all these different criteria that you brought up, right? In term, maybe this like just to sort of like think about an application here, because you like Lane, you rhymed off a bunch of different data sources, and is there like, I love that drip campaign because I think it's something that people can wrap their head around if they know digital marketing. They think, oh yeah, an email drip campaign. Somebody comes in as a lead, we drip them, we warm them up, we score them, and then we pass them to sales. What are the types of things that you're seeing on the programmatic side, the programmatic direct mail side, that would be a use case similar to that somebody could really wrap their head around?
Yeah. For sure, yeah. So a couple different examples. So when we think of geolocation data, that specific data set, what we're doing is identifying people or their postal code of people, not the actual people, but their postal code who have taken a specific action, like, for example, gone to a dog park or visited a pet-specific retail location. And within 12 to 24 hours of somebody doing that, we're able to capture the postal code of that individual, and we're able to trigger out a personalized direct mail piece to that person's postal code. Again, it's not one-to-one, it's one-to-few. So a postal code, we're talking about 20 addresses on average, but we know somebody or multiple people within those 20 addresses have gone to a dog park and a competitive pet retailer, for example. So if they've gone to the dog park, we personalize that with a dog creative on the postcard that we send out, versus going to a competitor retail location. We don't know if you have, a dog or a cat or a rabbit or a bird. So we need to ensure that the creative is more generic, right? So that it speaks to a broader audience. So it's sort of one of the applications we're doing right now with the geolocation data. But really it's whatever your mind can connect. So for example, we've also done automotive in that space, where we targeted automotive dealers and triggered out an insurance piece for automotive. So that
it's like a physical retargeting is another great way to put it, right? So we know that somebody has shown a particular interest or have a particular kind of hobby, or in this case a pet, or is in the process of potentially considering a purchase. We're able to determine that. Determine what their resting place is every night, and then take that and target them.
Yeah, I think it's similar, like some of the ways that I want to maybe talk a little bit about how you help ideate like those strategies, because like you said, it's like whatever your mind can sort of connect with. And I think that it is challenging. I mean, even on if we flip this over to the digital world, it's hard for customers to think of ways in which they can use their data from a digital marketing perspective, right? I think we just kind of think, well, it's an email. We're all kind of used to getting a dynamic email. We can kind of wrap our head around that maybe a little bit more than how would you do this with actually a physical piece of media? But how do you help a customer that might be like, hey, like I want to do some of this stuff. Like, how do you help them explore, well, okay, here's all the options? Because I know, we work with you guys, and part of the challenge is actually explaining what's possible, explaining what you can do with the power of this thing.
Yeah. So usually what we do is like to start with like any marketing campaign, like what's the objective, right? Like what is it? Is it acquisition? Is it retention? Like what are we actually looking to accomplish? And instead of focusing on all this other great things that we could potentially do, we want to make sure that it really makes sense to your application. So we're always starting with the objective and what are we looking to accomplish? And then from there, we start to explore, what data do you have internal that could help support this, if anything? And then from there, branching out and really looking at the other data sources that we can tap into that may support you for acquisition. So that's really what we focus on.
One of my favorite ones is that we are now integrating directly with CRMs or even scheduling software. So we have one customer that's in the air conditioning business at a very large level, commercial and residential, and we're getting into their system. We're getting a week ahead. We're getting data out of their CRM bookings. And so we're getting into that neighborhood at the exact same time their truck is in the neighborhood, getting an offer out
to
around
everybody
that.
else.
To everybody else in the neighborhood where they're going. That's great. And so then you start to think about, well, you can do this with real estate listings, sales or listings, for example. You can do this with the green thumb kind of things, right? Garden bags,
Yeah.
sod, whatever, right?
Home
'Cause
improvement.
home improvements,
Especially when the, you know, something like that would be so visible on the street.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
like clearly you're getting a major, like an installation done of, like you said, either an HVAC system or something to that degree. It's like
Right.
the truck's going to be there. They may put a sign on your lawn for a period of time. Like it's going to be quite visible to everybody around you that something's going on there. Right.
Right.
So I think that even more so than you blast that little area with a direct mail piece.
Yeah.
And
And what's cool too about that is that for the organization that or the company that we're doing this work for, they're already in the area. So I mean, not only are they not only are they going to be there from a a visual perspective, but from their operations perspective, the truck is there. Maybe we can afford to offer an extra 5% discount, right? The overhead is there. You're already there. Why not leverage the fact that you've got you've got resources in the area, and that saves you. And kind of pass that on to the consumer.
Yeah.
And again, it's just about finding, how that works for your objective in your business. Like even automotive, right, could be applicable there. So you've got someone that's made a new purchase of a vehicle. That vehicle is now sitting in the driveway. The neighbors are all envious of this new vehicle that's sitting there. Why not target them with a piece that says, hey, your neighbor has gotten a brand new shiny car. Are you guys in the market as well, right? So again, it's about the visibility in the neighborhood, but it can apply to so many different applications and industries.
Yeah, one of the best ones now that is really exciting for us is that we've been able to tap into weather forecast data.
Yeah.
And so we built that automated into our platform where we can get out, you've got a 2-week forecast and there's a huge storm, for example, coming. We can get out and we have the postal codes that will be impacted by that storm. We can get out there and actually advertise something. Snow blowers, I don't know, anything. It could be snow removal. It could be a high wind. Maybe a tree company wants to get some visibility out there at the same time that. So while that storm is happening, we can literally be in the mailbox already. Right?
Yeah.
And preemptively as well, right? Because we'll have data about 15 days out from the weather event. So even with direct mail, we can determine when we trigger that piece out. And we can get ahead of it. You think of member services for roadside assistance, as Dan mentioned, like wind, flood, could be potentially like insurance or other different industries that could take advantage of that for upselling.
There's almost like, I would you say your clients, like, do they obviously they're looking to you guys to sort of meld those sources together to really not just obviously do the back end. And we kind of glossed over a lot of the activation or the operationalization of the stuff that you guys are doing. We're kind of just focusing on, hey, now the piece shows up in the mail. But like, I'd imagine they don't come to you with like, here's our perfect data. Like part of what you're doing is actually saying, okay, not only are we going to look at these sources, but we're collecting, we're manipulating the data, we're governing that data, making sure that it's private, secure, and then we're activating it with the. So is that fair to say that they don't come to you with like ready-made data?
No, I mean they don't. Yeah, they don't know what's possible, and we've kind of been in the mindset for a while, so we've uncovered various filtering criteria, if you will, that might make sense. So I mean, it's about seeing what the data that they can provide us is. And what the data that we can provide, and merging all that together, and we'll be coordinating with Canada Post, for example, in terms of some of the demographics that we can drill into there as well. So there's a whole lot of filtering criteria. Yeah, you're right. We kind of glossed over it, but from a customer's perspective, or from a commercial customer's perspective, that's what we do. We solve that whole problem. Let's just talk about strategy. Let's just talk about, where can we get the data? Let it come into our system. Let's set a bunch of rules and forget it. It's just going to run and it'll just trigger out. We've got the creative. We can do the design work here as well. We can personalize to a certain degree as well. Well, I mean, I guess to a high degree, really, if we wanted to. But we don't know the name or the actual address of the individual we're going to try and impact. But certainly, from an offers perspective, it could be personalized. For example, if somebody's coming to us and saying, if it's wind, I want to have this kind of an image and offer.
Sure.
If it's rain, I want this kind of image and offer. Or, I'm being very general here, but
sure. Or even and like also city stuff. You could have something slightly different in Oakville versus Burlington. Just to label it. So
Ford versus Ferrari, right? So those kinds of things as well, right? How do you advertise when you're going to these various audiences?
Yeah.
And I guess to layer on that just a little bit. from our customers' perspective, I mean, really, we talked about objectives and defining the objectives of what you're looking to do. But once we have defined that and a little bit more visibility around what we potentially would be doing as far as data, then we focus on the business rules. So, what business rules are we defining ahead of time? And then we take those business rules that are specific for your campaign and we build that into our platform. Our platform's really versatile. We can turn that on really quickly, and then you're hands off. So we define the objectives, define the business rules, we set this up, and then as Dan mentioned, it's a trickle campaign. So it's about getting it into market really quickly and you having time to focus on higher value marketing activities within your team. It's a set it and forget it, but you don't have to just set it and forget it. It is flexible enough that we can change offers every
Testing,
week.
A/B
to do A/B
offers.
testing.
Yeah.
It's not rigid where once this is set up, you can never change it again. We've built it to be flexible so that you have the flexibility to change when things aren't working or for testing. But it's not a huge deal to do that. You're not rebuilding this whole thing from scratch or anything like that.
Yeah. How does attribution kind of reporting change, or does it change even in this kind of setup? Is it sort of just the same old approach that you would use anyway to performing some sort of analysis or reporting after the fact, or is it slightly different knowing that it's a programmatic campaign that could be running over the course of a quarter or 60 days or 90 days or something?
Yeah, so reporting it like at a general level, like we're still using all the same techniques to try and gauge response. So QR codes, offer codes, unique URLs, unique phone numbers to be able to really track and find out where people are coming from. We want to make sure we have enough of a duration and quantity to really make it sort of statistically significant for the reporting. So right now, even though it is a drip, clients are usually going out with about 1,000 pieces a week on a minimum for a 3-month period to be able to really get enough data.
Yeah.
And then we're able to go in and report and based on the clients, what they have set up, they may have their own analytics and reporting based on that website data or that unique URL. At the very base of reporting, if they're able to capture the postal codes of people that have redeemed a product or signed up for a service, we're able to do an analysis and see which people have responded to the programmatic campaign based on your postal codes. We can cross-reference who we mailed versus who has responded to do that. We also have partners we work with Canada Post who are able to offer even more reporting at their level that we can tap into
some visualization tools as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not, obviously there's, from a DirectWorks perspective, from a solution of this programmatic, we're also offering, or you guys are also offering, hey, there'll be the personalized URL. There'll be an ability. Oh, you don't have that? You don't have a marketing automation? You don't have the ability to capture that lead, that offer, that response? Yeah, we offer that too. We'll make sure that that's part of the equation along with the reporting and attribution. So really full service from that perspective. It allows, like you said, get them focused on other areas of marketing. They can add this to their program. They're not really taking on a lot of overhead on their side.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
This,
is that we'll design, and all the thought and effort will go into the front end.
Yeah.
And then it just rolls.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, guys, for joining us on this. Lots of information to process, and some pretty exciting, as I mentioned, interesting new opportunities for marketing to integrate with a number of different sources of data and to time it and to hit all those things that we love to do that make results happen. Thanks again, Mike and Wayne. Awesome work in helping build this product for us. It's been a real pleasure to watch it grow and become something special. Until next time, this is our podcast signing off.